I wasn't supposed to see it. 6 seconds, that's all it took to destroy 9 years of my marriage. By midnight that same night, I had already called my lawyer and filed for divorce. And the worst part? It wasn't what she did. It was how long it had been happening behind my back. My name is Marcus. I was married to Claire for 9 years. And what I found out that Tuesday changed everything I thought I knew about my life. Before I continue, if you're into real emotional stories like this, make sure you subscribe and tell me in the comments, what would you do in my situation? Because what I saw next, I still can't forget. People hear that and they say, 6 seconds? That's all it took? No, 9 years is what it took. 6 seconds is just when I finally saw the truth. Let me take you back to the beginning, because this story only makes sense if you understand what I thought I had. Claire and I met in 2013 at a work conference. She was presenting. I was in the audience. She was sharp, funny, completely in command of the room. I introduced myself afterward, and she looked at me like she was deciding whether I was worth her time. I spent the next 3 years trying to prove I was. We got married in 2016. Small wedding, close friends. Her parents flew in from out of town, and her father shook my hand and said, "Take care of my daughter." I meant it when I said I would. For a long time I did, and for a long time I genuinely believed she was doing the same for me. We built something real together. A home, a routine, a language only the two of us spoke. The kind married couples develop over years of shared jokes and inside references and knowing exactly how the other person takes their coffee. I trusted her completely. That's the part that matters. I trusted her with everything. So when the small things started shifting, I told myself I was imagining it. It started about a year before everything fell apart. Nothing dramatic, nothing I could point to and say, there, that's the moment. Just small things. She started staying later at work, once a week, then twice, then sometimes 3 times. She'd come home distracted, present in body, but somewhere else entirely in mind. I'd ask about her day and get one-word answers. I'd reach for her hand in bed, and she'd shift just slightly, just enough that I couldn't tell if it was intentional. I told myself she was stressed. Her company had gone through restructuring. Half her department had been let go. She was carrying more responsibility. Of course she was tired. That's what good husbands do, right? They give the benefit of the doubt. They don't become suspicious just because life gets hard. But then, she changed her phone password. She'd had the same password for 4 years. My birth year. I never once looked through her phone, not out of fear, just out of respect. That was the foundation of what we had. We didn't check each other's phones. We didn't need to. When I noticed it had changed, I mentioned it casually. She shrugged and said her company had sent a security memo asking employees to update all personal passwords. Reasonable, completely reasonable. I let it go. A month later, I was in the kitchen making dinner when her laptop chimed on the counter. She was in the shower. The chime was a calendar reminder. She'd asked me to check it if she wasn't around because she'd been missing work meetings. So I walked over. I leaned down to look at the screen, and that's when I saw the name. Just a name in the calendar entry. A man's name I recognized. A name I'd heard exactly twice in 9 years of marriage, both times casually, the way you mention a colleague in passing. The calendar entry just said, lunch. James. Nothing else. Nothing suspicious on its face. But something about it sat wrong, like a single note played slightly out of tune in an otherwise familiar song. You can't explain it. You just hear it. I put the laptop back. I finished making dinner. I said nothing, but I didn't forget it either. For the next 3 weeks, I paid attention in a way I never had before. Quietly, without accusation, just watching. She mentioned James twice more in conversation. Offhand comments. James said something funny in the meeting today. James recommended this restaurant. Each time she said his name, her voice did this thing, this almost imperceptible softening. That I recognized because I had heard that voice before. Years ago, when she used to talk about me. I still didn't confront her, not because I was afraid, but because I genuinely did not want to believe what I was starting to think. I had invested 9 years into this woman. I had built my entire adult life alongside her. I needed to be absolutely certain before I blew any of that up. So I waited. The Tuesday it all ended started completely normal. I worked from home that day. Claire had gone into the office. We'd had a quiet breakfast. Not tense, just quiet. Normal married couple quiet. Around 3 p.m. I went to print a document and realized the printer was out of paper. Claire kept a stack in the bottom drawer of the home office cabinet. I opened it, and there was an envelope. Plain white envelope, no label, tucked under the paper, like it had been placed there deliberately in the one spot of the house I almost never went into. I don't know why I picked it up. I almost didn't. But something, call it instinct, call it 9 years of knowing someone, made me pause. Before I tell you what I saw, I need to ask you something. If you enjoy real stories like this, the kind that hit hard and stay with you, take a second to subscribe. And I want to hear from you too. What would you do if you discovered something that could destroy your entire marriage in seconds? Drop your answer in the comments, because what I'm about to reveal changed everything. I opened it. Inside were 2 things, a hotel receipt and a photograph. I want you to understand what it feels like to hold physical proof of betrayal in your hands. It's not like the movies. There's no dramatic music. You don't scream or throw things immediately. The first thing that happens is your brain simply refuses to process what your eyes are seeing, like the information is too large to fit through the door of your comprehension all at once. I stood in that office for what felt like an hour but was probably 90 seconds. The hotel receipt was dated 6 weeks earlier, a Friday night. The night she told me she had a work event and would be getting home late. And the photograph, a printed photograph, which already told me this had been going on long enough that they'd become sentimental about it, showed Claire at what looked like a restaurant, smiling. The kind of smile I hadn't seen on her face in 2 years, leaning across the table toward a man I now knew was James. She hadn't just had a bad year. She had been living a second life inside my first one. I set the envelope down on the desk very carefully, like it was fragile. Then I sat in the chair for a long time. I thought about her father shaking my hand at our wedding, about the house we'd bought together, about the version of us that used to stay up until 2 a.m. talking about nothing and everything, about every moment I had given her the benefit of the doubt while she was busy giving herself something else entirely. I thought about every password change, every late night, every softened mention of James's name, every time I had chosen trust over instinct and told myself I was being a good husband. I hadn't been being a good husband. I'd been being a fool. When Claire got home that evening, I was sitting in the living room. The envelope was on the coffee table in front of me. She walked in, saw me, saw the envelope, and the color left her face so completely and so instantly that I had my final confirmation, not that I needed one. She started to speak. I held up my hand. I said only one thing. I found it. She stood there for a long time, and then she sat down, and she cried, and she talked, and she explained and justified and pleaded, and I sat across from her, and I listened to every single word with the strange calm clarity of a man who has already made his decision. Because I had. While she was driving home, I had already called my lawyer. People ask me if I regret how fast I moved, if I should have tried counseling, tried to understand, given her a chance to explain. Here is what I tell them. She didn't make a mistake that night. She had made the same choice, deliberately, repeatedly, over months, and then come home to me every evening and looked me in the eye without flinching. The lying took more effort than the betrayal. That's what I couldn't come back from, not the act itself, but the architecture of deception she had carefully built inside our home. I filed the papers that same night. I slept on the couch. And the next morning I woke up, and for the first time in months, I knew exactly where I stood. Alone, but finally standing on solid ground. Some losses I've learned are just freedom in disguise. And some doors need to close completely before you can understand what was slowly suffocating you behind them. I need to know what you think. Was I wrong to file that same night? Or would you have done the same thing? Is betrayal ever something a marriage can survive? Or does the lying make it unforgivable? And if you found that envelope, what would you have done? Drop your answer below, because this comment section never lies. Unlike some people we know, if you're into real, emotional stories like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what would you do in my situation?